Sophie Thomas, an able-bodied artist studying contemporary performance, and I'd like to take you on a journey into my practice as research. Firstly, I'd like to start by acknowledging there are numerous designations for practice as research, such as practice-led research, performance as research, and many more. I will be using the term practice as research, or PAR for short. When exploring practice as research, I came across a term in Estelle Barrett's text, which was, quote, art as the production of knowledge, end quote. I think this term helps to determine what is at the core of PAR. PAR sees a shift from traditional quantitative and qualitative research methods and acknowledges that practice, such as performance, film, sound, can produce the same quality of knowledge for scholarly inquiry. Robin Nelson and Barrett state PAR has created a third species of research. According to Barrett, in this species of research, personal interest and experience is often a feature which motivates the research process. There is a fluidity to PAR which is not seen in traditional research, where methodologies shift and unfold during the research as opposed to staying rigid. One cannot know the outcomes of a practice before it has happened. Part of PAR is to embrace the unpredictability. As Annette Allender states, quote, how much, and even more importantly, how things have moved, rather than where they have landed, become the most meaningful measures of impact, end quote. Let's start walking while I delve into my chosen frameworks, which are walking as an aesthetic practice alongside space, place, and technology, with my objective being the possibility of a physical journey becoming an inner experience. The main concept of walking as an aesthetic practice is taking the functional activity of walking and using it as a critical tool to engage with the environment. I am undertaking the physical journey of walking a section of the King Charles Coastal Path on the Wirral every day for 7 days. You, as a viewer, get to experience those 7 walks simultaneously while the video shifts and changes between each day. To help you adjust mentally to the place, the view you can see when we're stood still is Wales. The time of the year is November, so there is a chill in the air, and that wind you can sometimes hear is as fierce as it sounds, making my body gently sway to its rhythm when I'm stood still. Rebecca Solnit states, quote, walking, ideally, is a state in which the mind, the body, and the world are aligned, as though they were 3 characters finally in conversation together. 3 notes suddenly making a chord, end quote. I think this idea is at the core of walking as an aesthetic practice, allowing the mind and body to join the rhythm of the environment. As is the way with PAR, I had initially intended to walk the route once, and that would have been the only footage you as a viewer would have seen. But as I researched more into walking as an aesthetic practice, my idea also shifted. I wanted to experience the environment, and a 15-minute walk could not connect my mind and body to the place deeply enough. Walking the route over 7 days at different times of the day enabled me to experience a greater connection, and you as a viewer able to experience something which would never normally be possible. The shifting dynamics of an environment over the period of a week merged into one. There is a repetition and rhythm to walking, as Solnit explores. Quote, the rhythm of walking generates a kind of rhythm of thinking, and the passage through a landscape echo or stimulates the passage through a series of thoughts, end quote. The walk you are experiencing has a rhythm and repetition to it. As the walker, I was making a passage through the landscape, tracing the same steps each time. The bodily rhythm this created enabled me to make a passage through my thoughts as well. I was inspired by Richard Long's A Line Made by Walking, where Long walked forwards and backwards until he had flattened a section of grass and then photographed the line when the sunlight made it visible. Francesca Carreira explored Long's line made by walking by stating, quote, the image of the treaded grass contains the presence of absence. Absence of action, absence of the body, absence of the object. But it is unmistakably the result of action of a body, and it is an object, as something that is situated between sculpture, performance, and an architecture of the landscape, end quote. This is similar to Solnit's idea of the body and world aligned, but Long's work is a documentation of that alignment without the physical presence of a body which made it. I have followed a line on this walk which was already determined. The presence of my body can be seen on the video by my movements creating a rhythm, replicating that feeling of walking to the viewer. You only see my physical body in moments when the sun alights my shadow. Mental travel also plays a part in creating an inner experience, and by that I mean the ability to travel somewhere else in your mind while remaining physically in the same space. Alan de Botton summarises mental travel by stating, quote, "It is easy to forget ourselves when we contemplate pictorial and verbal descriptions of places," end quote. Marcus Coates explored mental travel in his work, The Trip. Coates worked with a patient from St John's Hospice, Alex H., who had one regret, not travelling to the Amazon. Coates took on this journey with clear instructions from Alex H., and when he returned, as opposed to showing visuals of the journey, he described it in great detail along with soundscapes. Alex H. was transported to the place, almost as if he was physically there. The visuals of the coastal path, combined with the sounds, aim to give you the experience of mentally travelling and moving through a space while being physically still. Environment is essential in both frameworks of walking as an aesthetic practice and space, place and technology. Central to place and space is the aura. As Walter Benjamin states, quote, "While resting on a summer afternoon, you follow with your eyes a mountain range on the horizon or a branch which casts a shadow over you. You experience the aura of those mountains, of that branch," end quote. The aura is the essence of an object or experience, which is hard to replicate, but technology is now allowing us the opportunity to try to capture the aura and transport it. When watching the footage of the walks I had been on, I felt like the walk at dawn captured the aura of the environment in all its entirety, with the array of sounds and the light creating what felt like a unique moment in time. This is why throughout the video I keep bringing it back to that footage, to the aura of the walk. Benjamin explores technology when he states, quote, "The characteristics of the film lie not only in the manner in which man presents himself to mechanical equipment, but also in the manner in which, by means of this apparatus, man can represent his environment," end quote. Technology enables a walk, which in this case is an insular experience, to become a shared experience, allowing you as a viewer to come on the journey and experience the environment. Pipilotti Rist's installation in the Tate Modern Ludenflügel is a way in which technology is used to create a space influenced by the environment, but as opposed to replicating the aura of the environment they filmed in, Rist's work blurs nature, human and animals, creating a vivid, alternate virtual world, thus an entirely new aura. Rist explores how technology can aid the viewer's transportation, stating, quote, "At first you look at the box, at the screen or projection, but when you concentrate on the sequences, you feel as if you're inside the box, behind the glass, within the wall. You forget everything around you, you're swallowed," end quote. This plays into the idea of mental travel. I envisage the video you're watching to be projected on multiple screens like Rist's, as a way in which the technology could help transport you. When the walk is on a large split screen, the landscape can surround you like it would when you are physically walking in the place. I will now become silent for a few minutes so you can experience the environment in all its intensity and absorb the changing atmosphere of the landscape. To aid my PAR process, I used the framework of action research which was developed by Kurt Lewin in 1934. It comprises of 3 stages. Number 1, planning and presentation, which is the theory. Number 2, action, which is the practice. And number 3, observation and reflection, which is the data generation. Jean McNeef states, quote, action researchers are insider researchers. They see themselves as part of the context they are investigating, end quote, which is why I think it complements PAR so well, as at the heart of PAR is the person doing the research. Using this framework gave me a clear and concise plan for this project, starting with planning the walk, including walking the route to work out timings, while also researching other artists and theory. The action being undertaking the walk and then editing the footage. And finally, the observation is reflecting on my experience creating this video, which I will share shortly, and in future iterations would be asking viewers for their reflections after watching the piece to generate data for future projects. McNeef describes an action reflection cycle, where the researcher will, quote, observe, reflect, act, evaluate, modify, move in new direction, end quote, which demonstrates that action research is a cyclical process, as once you have data, it opens more questions and directions to explore. Practice as research is a continually evolving process, and action research as a framework can aid this by giving structure to the process. I'd like to now share my reflections. I had done this walk numerous times in the past as a functional activity, but undertaking it for 7 days, I began to feel extremely connected to the environment. My senses were heightened and I fell fully into the rhythm of the walk and felt rooted in the place. Each walk I felt as if I was walking with the ghost of myself, like I could feel the presence of my past footsteps. When editing the footage, there was an ethical question of whether to include people I encountered on the walk in the finished video. It was filmed in a public place, so technically they could be included, but I chose to only include their backs or if they were in the distance. The walk felt very personal to me, so if they were also experiencing that feeling, it felt wrong to publish that without their permission. The editing itself felt like a continuation of the walk. Like a walk, there is a lot of repetition to editing. The editing steps began to feel like footsteps, and I got lost in the rhythm of the walk again. A walk for me is physically a simple activity of putting one foot in front of the other, so I wanted the video to replicate that simplicity, with the footage simply merging into each other. The pace that they merge together is the same pace that my thoughts would wander off on the walk, sometimes quite quickly, sometimes a lot slower. It is hard to know whether this physical journey that I undertook can become an inner experience for someone else without having people watch this film and hear their feedback, or whether things have now shifted and creating an inner experience is no longer the objective. Could the viewer do an 8th walk, similarly to the Alter-Bandhof's video walk, where they physically walk in the same steps I did, but see the 7-day walk on their phone, experiencing the changing environment while physically in that environment? PAR is about embracing the unpredictability of your practice and having the fluidity to move in different directions. There are too many ideas to share here which have sprouted from this one repeated walk. As Solinet states, quote, walking is a bodily labour that produces nothing but thoughts, experiences, arrivals, end quote, which perfectly sums up the journey I have been on and encompasses my understanding of practice as research. Finally, here is a list of the sources which have informed my research. Thank you for coming on this journey with me.